Now, we are blessed and encouraged to hear from our very own President and CEO, Dr. Jeff Iorg. Let's give him a big hand of encouragement. Coming on up.
Thank you, Tony Dockery, my longtime friend and now your chairman. It's a pleasure to serve with you, and I thank you for the privilege of reporting tonight. I am glad to tell you about the continuing work of the Southern Baptist Convention Executive Committee. We continue at the EC to pursue our mission of facilitating the work of the Southern Baptist Convention and its entities, we believe resulting in global impact, fulfilling what President Presley has just mentioned, God's eternal mission centered on the gospel. We appreciate the renewed confidence Southern Baptists have expressed in the Executive Committee. While we have been through some difficult years, we are now on a more positive path. This was demonstrated at the 2025 annual meeting in Dallas when the messengers supported our initiatives and affirmed our decisions. While we still have a long way to go to regain the full confidence of Southern Baptists, we are on a healthier trajectory and pledge to continue purposeful, incremental steps in the right direction. Now, some of those steps include enhancements to internal operations to improve your functionality as a committee. For example, we reshaped our new trustee orientation this year and will sharpen it further in the future. We are also implementing a new trustee mentoring program for next year. It will involve some of you mentoring or coaching new trustees as they prepare for their first meeting, helping them to be more relationally connected to our very large committee. Chairman Dockery has also asked for enhancements to our worship time to begin each session, and you experienced that this evening. He has also asked us to initiate ongoing trustee training, refresher training, as part of our fall meeting each year. We will do this tomorrow during the executive session with an emphasis on board function and a discussion of ways we can improve our internal operations as a committee to be even more effectively serve Southern Baptists and more efficiently do our work as a group. And as part of that, we'll be discussing our meeting format and hearing your input on ways we can both streamline and improve committee operations. Now, one operational concern is our ongoing financial status. We are grateful for the decision to set aside $3 million as a priority item in the upcoming year's National Cooperative Program budget to pay SBC and Executive Committee legal and operational bills. With those resources and the $3 million loan we secured last year, we are now in a much stronger financial position to meet our future obligations. Despite these changes, we are still holding the line on staffing changes, program improvements, and other expenditures until we resolve the issues creating these financial uncertainties. We also continue to market the SBC building for sale. Thanks to the special budget allocation, however, we are now able to sell the building as a strategic choice instead of a financial necessity. Since we have more space than we need for current operations, the building is now an asset to deploy for the future. We continue to have meaningful conversations with potential buyers and are hopeful we will resolve this issue soon. If we sell the building, we will first repay the $3 million loan and then use the balance to establish a new location, restore Executive Committee reserves, and reset the Executive Committee's ministry plan for a healthy and responsible future. Through the special allocation, the loan, the potential building sale, and continued frugal operations, we are moving toward greater financial stability for which we are all grateful. We are also asking God, if selling the building is not His plan, to meet these financial needs by some other dramatic and frankly unexpected means. Now shifting to our legal update. The operative word is waiting. We are waiting for legal processes to proceed in the 3 major cases we are defending on behalf of the SBC and other parties. First, In the Hunt case, the court has dismissed all claims but one related to a social media post. Additional motions have been filed to that remaining charge, and we are waiting for the court to rule. Second, in the Sills case, one major development was defendant Jennifer Lyle passing away in June 2025. The plaintiffs have filed motions to discontinue the case against Ms. Lyle's estate, but continue the case against the other defendants. So, we are currently preparing and waiting for trial, scheduled for early 2026. Third, our appeal in the Garner case has been accepted for consideration by the Tennessee Supreme Court, and we are waiting for their next steps in the process. The optimal word, and a hard one for all of us, is waiting. We cannot accelerate the pace of these proceedings, which are determined entirely at this point by the courts involved. While these delays create continued financial and operational uncertainties, we'll continue to manage them as best we can until they are ultimately resolved. Since our last meeting in June, several other legal matters have been resolved. 12 pending lawsuits in North Carolina involving alleged abuse at local churches, where the SBC and the Executive Committee were named as defendants, have all been dismissed. These suits were based on the theory the SBC failed to supervise local churches. 2 lawsuits in Oklahoma were also dismissed, both also involving claims against the SBC and Executive Committee for supposedly failing to supervise local churches. There are currently hearings set on motions to dismiss in lawsuits in New York, Louisiana, and Texas, all involving similar claims, which we hope will be resolved soon. These cases remind us of the continued need for meaningful progress in sexual abuse prevention and response. To that end, since June, we have launched a new helpline and are transitioning out of that aspect of our relationship with Guidepost Solutions. We have launched a new website filled with helpful resources. We are working now on language and cultural translations of those materials to make them available to an even wider audience. We hosted a major training event at the annual meeting in Dallas and are planning a similar event in Orlando in 2026. These initiatives, added to the previous actions in the first part of this year, are addressing this serious problem with purposeful steps that are making a significant difference. Another area of important progress was the adoption of the revised SBC Business and Financial Plan at the annual meeting last June. We are now working with entity leaders to ensure its implementation and adequate reporting of required information to Southern Baptists. Entity chief financial officers have been outstanding partners in this effort, and we appreciate the expertise they provide in serving Southern Baptists. We will publish the first versions of the new accountability letters in 2026, evaluate their effectiveness, and then make further improvements along the way as we sharpen that response. Related to this initiative is another important project. A trustee training course will launch in January 2026. This 3-hour online training course is being produced by the Executive Committee with supportive input from entity presidents, other executive officers, and of course, legal counsel. This will be a generic orientation for trustees of all SBC entities, providing foundational information to solidify trustee expectations and performance. It will be publicly available for potential trustees to also view during the vetting process, as well as a training tool entities can use to enhance their individualized new trustee orientation processes. We depend on trustee governance of our entities, and this training will enhance the overall effectiveness of Southern Baptists serving in these positions. One role of the Executive Committee is responding to referrals of motions from the annual meeting each year. We are processing some of those referrals for action at this meeting and will follow up with others in February 2026. One of the referrals we are asking you to affirm tomorrow is the appointment of an executive committee task force on special needs ministries. Tom Stoll, the executive director of the Maryland-Delaware Baptist Convention, has agreed to chair this task force. Our goal is for the task force to report to the executive committee next spring, have their report shaped and adopted by the executive committee, and then presented to the SBC in June 2026. We believe this process will significantly enhance this important ministry area for Southern Baptist churches, associations, state conventions, and national entities. Another referral relates to changing National Cooperative Program budget allocation percentages to provide 51% of the national CP allocation budget to the International Mission Board. This has been discussed for several years, but in 2024, the convention voted for this budget change to be reflected in the 2026-2027 budget year. The Executive Committee will consider recommendations about this matter next February as part of our normal budget development process for presentation to the annual meeting in June 2026. Since this involves an allocation of resources, it will be challenging to make these adjustments, but we can do it working together. It's also important to note at this point, and while circumstances may change, we do not anticipate requesting any priority cooperative program allocation to the Executive Committee in the 2026-27 National CP allocation budget. Another important role of the Executive Committee is coordinating the SBC annual meeting. We recently hosted the kickoff luncheon in Orlando for Orlando 2026 with about 200 Orlando area leaders. Now, these leaders will help us in two significant ways. First, organizing Crossover, a series of ministry-based evangelism projects which will share the gospel with thousands of people while we are in Orlando. Second, finding volunteers, which we will need in record numbers to staff this convention. We anticipate about 20,000 total attendees at the Orlando Convention, including more than 1,000 children. I said that out loud right then. Since so many families will combine attending the convention with family vacation in the Orlando area. President Presley has announced his theme and spoken to it again this evening, Walking Worthy, which will be our focus. The Pastors' Conference theme is very similar, the word together, which underscores our commitment to voluntary cooperation. And that leads me to my final set of comments for this evening. One of the Executive Committee's core responsibilities is managing and distributing cooperative program funds to SBC entities. This is becoming more challenging because of how churches and state conventions are changing the definition of the cooperative program giving. For example, so far in 2025, the Executive Committee has received gifts in 33 different alternate, quote-unquote, cooperative program configurations. These include all kinds of delineations, omitting certain entities and directing gifts to other entities. This is more than an accounting challenge. It is redefining the cooperative program as a catch-all phrase, masking a return to an old approach of societal giving. This approach has been rejected by previous generations of SBC leaders as inadequate to fund a vast global mission enterprise. While there are programmatic and political reasons for these current changes, a more important factor is the philosophical commitment underlining these developments. Changes in the cooperative program are rooted in a worldview shift that has marked Western culture and unfortunately bled into SBC life. The problem is the fracturing influence of expressive individualism, the dominant worldview of our time. Expressive individualism is the root of cultural developments ranging from obsessive sharing on social media to convincing children they can choose their own gender. It is the worldview which demands mass customization and, at the same time, fuels aggressive tribalism. Southern Baptists live in this cultural milieu and are being influenced by it. This is troubling because expressive individualism is theologically and philosophically antithetical to cooperation, which is the theological and philosophical foundation of our combined efforts. Cooperation means working willingly with people who do not agree with you on everything. Expressive individualism insists you have your way and only work with people who agree with you, or better, will reward you for your individual choices. Cooperation means you sacrifice to achieve common goals, not leverage gifts to enforce your personal preferences. Cooperation means you surrender control to fellow Baptists you elect, which is anathema to expressive individualists. The current tribalism and continuing reshuffling of sectarian loyalties in the SBC is a byproduct of this worldview shift. People demand their positions prevail, continually realign with others who share their perspective, and will only fund what they find amenable. This creates an ever-changing kaleidoscope of collaborations demanding new funding channels. While we often encourage increased unified cooperative program giving, it is not likely to happen until a deeper theological and philosophical commitment is addressed that will determine our future. Southern Baptists must first recommit to cooperation, rejecting expressive individualism and the inroads it has made. We must reaffirm cooperation, not conformity, as the best biblical methodology for working together. We must reaffirm what I call the messiness of cooperation, particularly as we become more geographically, racially, economically, and politically diverse. We must reaffirm cooperation and then see funding it through one channel, the cooperative program, as its natural outflow. Our current conflicts might cause us to believe a call for renewed cooperation is futile, but that ignores an amazing historical reality. It was when our denominational situation was bleak in the 1920s that an all-out commitment to cooperation produced the cooperative program and propelled us to remarkable growth. My dream tonight is that Southern Baptists will recommit to cooperation in all its messy splendor and focus on our overarching mission of getting the gospel to the nations rather than being preoccupied with lesser issues. In almost 50 years, as a Southern Baptist ministry leader, there has never been a time when I have been happy with everything we were doing in every SBC entity, state convention, local association, or church. And yet, despite my concerns, and yes, my occasional opposition to this initiative or that program, my commitment to cooperation has remained. Yes, as I've said before, I am willing to cooperate with some churches I would not join as a member. I am willing to support SBC entities, even when I have reservations about some of their initiatives. I am willing to remain in the SBC when we make unwise decisions at our annual meeting. And yes, I am willing to commit these years of my life to challenging Southern Baptists to focus more on God's eternal mission than on minor denominational divisions. My choices to do this eclipse other matters because of our greater vision of sharing the gospel with the whole world. Our overarching impact as Southern Baptists is so amazing and so positive. And if you've heard me speak anywhere in the last 18 months, you've heard me give the litany of all of that. It compels me to work together with as many Southern Baptists as possible to be a force for good. And that phrase, a force for good, echoes one of my earlier messages and motivates me in my work on your behalf. Our critics and detractors continually decry our efforts and point out our shortcomings, but they seem oblivious to reality. They ignore millions of volunteer ministry hours Southern Baptists devote each year to impact communities like yours. Tens of thousands of students enrolled in our universities and our seminaries. Thousands of missionaries sharing the gospel in hard-to-reach places around the world, and hundreds of church planters starting new churches across our country. Yes, we have some problems, but they must be kept in proper perspective. We will always be an imperfect people, marred by sin and marked by sinful behavior. But even that admission defines us as a force for good, living examples of God's forgiveness and grace, which we offer to people in desperate need of that message today. So Southern Baptists and Southern Baptist Convention Executive Committee, thank you for allowing me to serve in this capacity, which gives me a front row seat to the impact Southern Baptists are making as a force for good across this country and around the world. May God sustain us on the journey and bless us with wisdom, insight, and courage as we serve Southern Baptists. May God stir a revival of cooperation leading to sacrificial giving to advance His kingdom in every community and every country. And may God make it so for His glory and for our good.